Welcome to episode 112 of Gods and Heroes of Ancient Greece. My name is MyLinda Butterworth, and today we continue with the tales of Troy and the story of Philoctetes on Lemnos. They landed on the uninhabited coast of the island of Lemnos. It was here that 9 years ago, not long after the Argives had departed for Troy, that Odysseus had abandoned Philoctetes, son of Poesis, who was suffering from an incurable wound. He had left him in a cave with two entrances. One part of it was warm in winter, and the other afforded coolness from the hot summer sun. Close by was a spring of fresh water. The two heroes quickly located the place, and Odysseus found everything just as it had been. But the cave was deserted. A bed of leaves pressed flat, as if someone had risen from it only a short time ago. A cup crudely carved of wood and some tinder indicated that it was inhabited. And left to dry in the sun were rags bearing the stains of a wound, so that there was no doubt Philoctetes still lived there. Odysseus sent a servant out to watch for him, for he did not want to be surprised by a man who was bound to be his enemy. "Let us make the most of his absence," he said to Achilles' young son, "to think of some sort of plan, for we shall not be able to win him over to our cause unless we invent a good reason. I must not be here when you first meet him, for he hates me, and he is right. When he asks you who you are and where you come from, tell him the truth. But add what is not true, that you have turned from the Argives in anger and are bound for home. Complain to him that you were fetched from Scyros to help us win the war, and then refused you and your father's weapons. Say that they were given to me, to Odysseus. Malign me as much as you please, the more, the better. It will not hurt me, and unless we do something of the sort, we shall not be able to win over this man and attain his much-needed weapons. You must get hold of those arrows in any case." Neoptolemus interrupted him. "Son of Laertes," he said, "the mere thought of doing this fills me with loathing. I could not possibly steal his arrows. Neither my father nor I were born to be crafty. I am willing to take Philoctetes captive by force, but do not try to persuade me to do it by guile. Besides, how could one man alone, and one who has only one sound foot, get the better of us?" "With those arrows of his," Odysseus answered calmly. "I know very well that you were not born with the gift of trickery. I myself had an honest father, and in my youth I was slow and awkward in speech and swift and sure with my arm. But experience has taught me that words often succeed more readily than deeds. If you stop to think that only the bow and the shafts of Heracles can vanquish Troy, and that you will gain the reputation of wisdom in addition to that of courage by obtaining them, you will surely not refuse to use a little shrewdness." Neoptolemus gave in to his older friend, and Odysseus left. Not long after, loud groans announced the coming of Philoctetes. From far off he had seen the ships riding at anchor near the coast, which had no real harbor. He hurried towards Neoptolemus and those with him. "Who are you?" he cried. "Who are you? Have you come ashore on this barren island? I recognize the dress of fellow Argives, but I long to hear you speak. Do not recoil from me because I look wild and unkempt. I am an unhappy man, deserted by my friends and tormented with pain. If you have not come here with hostile intent, speak." Neoptolemus answered as Odysseus had prompted, and Philoctetes broke into cries of delight. "O beloved sound of the native tongue! I have not heard it for so long. O son of noble Achilles! O Lycomedes and fair Scyros! And you, his foster child, what was it you said? Evidently the Danai have treated you no better than me. I am Philoctetes, son of Poesis, whom Odysseus and the sons of Atreus abandoned when I was racked with pain. They landed me here while I slept and left me with a few beggar's rags and a little food. Imagine my awakening, my fright, when I found myself alone. The ship's gone, no physician at hand, no help, nothing but solitude and pain. Days and years passed since then, and I have had to see to my own needs. My bow here kept me fed. But though the arrows unerringly hit the quarry, I had to drag myself to the place where it fell. I had to fetch water from the spring, wood from the forest, and for a long time I had no fire. At last, I found the right kind of stone, flint, which gives out a spark when you strike it against iron. Once I had fire, I had all I needed for bare living, all except health. As for this island, it is the poorest bit of earth in the world. No seafarer comes here of his own free will. There are no good landing places. There are no men here with whom a merchant could barter his wares. Whoever lands here does so because he must. And there were a few such men. They pitied me, gave me food or clothing, but not one of them would consent to take me home. 10 years I have been leading this wretched, lonely life, and this is the fault of Odysseus and the sons of Atreus. May the gods requite their evil deed with evil. Neoptolemus was moved to great pity as he listened to the story of Philoctetes, but mindful of his friend's warning, he suppressed his emotion. Instead, he told Philoctetes of the death of Achilles and whatever else he wanted to hear about his countrymen. In the course of his tale, he wove in all the lies Odysseus had suggested. Philoctetes listened with rapt attention and now and then interrupted the story with expressions of sympathy. Then he took Neoptolemus by the hand, wept, and said, I implore you, by your father and mother, do not leave me behind. I know that I am unwelcome cargo, but please take me just the same. You can store me away wherever you wish, near the rudder, in the bow of the ship, or down in the hold, where I should cause the least disturbance to your crew. Only take me out of this dreadful loneliness. Take me to your home. From there it is not far to Mount Oeta and the land where my father lives. I have sent messages to him through those who landed here, but have never had one in return. Perhaps he is dead. Well, I shall be content if I may see his grave and rest there. With a heavy heart, Neoptolemus gave the man pleading at his feet a promise he did not mean to carry out. We shall go to the ships whenever you like, he said. May a god permit us to leave this island quickly and reach our appointed destination. Philoctetes jumped up as well as he could with his wounded foot. He clasped the young man's hand in gratitude. At this moment the servant they had sent out appeared, disguised as an Argive sailor. With him was another sailor who belonged to their crew. Turning to Neoptolemus, the servant brought the fictitious news that Diomedes and Odysseus were on the way to take captive a man called Philoctetes, for Calchas, the soothsayer, had said his presence was necessary if Troy was to fall. At these words, Philoctetes put himself entirely at the mercy of Neoptolemus. Hastily, he gathered up his immortal arrows, gave them to the youth for safekeeping, and went with him through the mouth of the cave. And then Neoptolemus could no longer restrain himself. Before they could reach the shore, he told Philoctetes the truth. I cannot bear to conceal it from you, he said. You must come to Troy with me, to the sons of Atreus, to the Argives. Philoctetes stopped. He trembled. He cursed. He prayed. But before Neoptolemus had time to yield, Odysseus left the cover of bushes where he had been hiding and ordered his servants to take the unhappy old hero prisoner. Philoctetes had recognized him at the first word. He said, Alas, he exclaimed, I am betrayed. This is the man who abandoned me 9 years ago, and now his wiles have deprived me of my arrows." Then he turned to Neoptolemus. "Son," he said, "return them to me. Give me back the bows and arrows which belong to me." But Odysseus did not allow him to continue. "Never!" he shouted. "Not even if the boy wanted to. You must come with us, for there is much at stake. The welfare of the Argives, the fall of Troy." With that, Odysseus drew Neoptolemus away with him and left the old man in the hands of his servants. He stood outside his cave and bewailed the trick which had been played on him. He was just about to call on the gods to avenge him when he saw Odysseus and Neoptolemus coming back. They were quarreling. He heard the younger cry out, "No! It is wrong! I got the better of him through shameful deceit. You shall not take this man to Troy against his will, not unless you kill me first." They drew their swords, but Philoctetes intervened. He threw himself at the feet of the son of Achilles. "Promise to save me," he cried, "and I, in turn, give my word that the arrows of my friend Heracles shall ward all attacks from your country." "Follow me," said Neoptolemus, raising the old man from the ground. "This very day we leave for Phthia, my native land." Suddenly, the blue air over their heads grew dark. They looked up, and Philoctetes was first to recognize his friend, immortal Heracles, floating above them in a heavy cloud. "You shall not go," he called down from heaven in a voice that echoed across the earth. "My lips, friend Philoctetes, shall tell you the wish of Zeus, and you must obey. You know the labors I had to perform before I could attain immortality. Fate has decreed that you too must suffer before you attain to glory. If you go to Troy with this youth, your sickness will leave you. Then you are whole and sound again. The gods will choose you to destroy Paris, the cause of this war. After that, you will raze Troy to the ground. It is you who will have the most precious spoils. Laden with treasure, you will return to Odysseus, your father, who is still alive, and you should have something left over from your spoils. Bring it as an offering to my burial mound. Farewell." Philoctetes stretched out his arms to his friend as he disappeared in heights too great for human eyes to follow. "Very well, then," he cried. "Let us board the ships. Give me your hand, noble son of Achilles, and you, Odysseus, walk beside me without misgivings, for what you wanted was, after all, the will of the gods." And here is where I end my tale for today. But I'll be back with more tales, many more tales. Until then, my friends, enjoy the journey.